Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Man, have I got something cool to share with you guys today. I'm going to start right off by saying this is not a knife that you're going to be able to run out and buy. But you guys know I have a penchant, a thing for discontinued and interesting knives, and this is absolutely one of those. But before we get to this, I think you know what I'm going to say. Please subscribe. I would love to have you here on a regular basis. I share stuff like this, as well as modern knives, as well as current stuff, big knives, little knives. If you like knives, well, you've come to the right place. Also, hit the like button right down here somewhere. That helps the channel out quite a bit. So let's talk about the knife that's on the table. This is the Cold Steel Night Force. This knife is, I think they stopped producing them a few years ago, so it's 5 or 6 years old. It is very interesting, very well made, and very uncold steel-like in some ways and very cold steel-like in others. The place to start with the Night Force here is the Damascus blade. Look at that. Nowadays they call this sort of raindrop Damascus. Now, I'm not a huge Damascus fan. I don't like not knowing what's in my blades, but they solved that problem. This, well, this is N690 steel mixed with Nitro B, not Nitro V, Nitro B steel. The fact that they share that right there in the description on the websites where you can still find it makes me very happy, because I've had excellent luck with N690 steel, and so this is a good blade steel that just happens to be very, very beautiful. It's got some very interesting thumb studs on it, as you can see. You can see right through it. There is a little tiny inset screw right here. They're going to show up. There we go, right there, to hold these in place, which is very, very awesome. The scales are carbon fiber and apparently G10 laminate. But one of the more interesting sides to this, and let's see if I can get this to show up on camera. Look at that. There's laminate carbon fiber on the inside as well, which led me to believe that it was full carbon fiber, but apparently that is G10 sandwiched between two thin slices of carbon fiber, but companies don't bother to do that. There we go. Can you see it? Let's see if we... There we go. See that? Companies don't do that. I don't think Cold Steel would do it today, but they certainly did it back then. And so it's carbon fiber up here, and when you look inside, it's carbon fiber. It's got the rigidity of G10, but no steel liners. It is the triad lock, which is very cool. And it has a G10 backspacer with a little bit of a head knocker on it. Of course, it has a lanyard hole. I can hear Josh from Jimmy Slash out there going, yay! I don't particularly care. It's got a very traditional Cold Steel pocket clip, except this works really well and it's not too tight. I really wish they still made knives like this. I really, really do. Locking mechanism works just fine. As you can see, you can do it one-handed. It's not really a easy, you can't like fling it open. There's a lot of friction, a lot of tension on the spring back there, but you can thumb it open really easily, and of course you can roll it open super smoothly. It is a great knife to use, and look at this blade shape. Fantastic clip point, excellently comfortable handle. It's very thin and it is very light for its size. You can find these. They're on eBay right now for right around $200 if you're interested in such a thing. I know this isn't really going to be a knife for everybody, but my God, it's so cool and very unique that I just had to have one. In fact, I traded a couple of other knives for it recently at a Barry Knife Collectors Association meeting, and I'm very glad that I did. This is one of the reasons I love knives. Every time you think you've seen what's out there, every time you think you've got a grip on what's possible and what companies are doing and what they used to do, something new comes along that's just amazing. This is an excellent cutter, by the way. Very nice behind the edge. I've done all of my basic cutting work with it, the stuff that I do for you guys to make sure that a knife holds its edge reasonably well. This thing has been through all the materials that I cut through and has still got a fantastic edge on it. And based on everything I can tell, this is a factory edge. So whoever owned this before me didn't cut a lot with it. And Cold Steel, the heat treat on this particular Damascus, once again, N690 and Nitro B steel, is very, very good. I'm thinking I'm actually going to take this to a buddy of mine and have a mirrored edge put on it, because I think that a mirror edge with this Damascus would just look fantastic. Now, do I wish that the triad lock was black and that the pocket clip was black? Well, yeah, absolutely. It looks for all the world like you could swap this clip if they had a left-handed clip for it, because the screw patterns are the same on both sides, but it didn't come with one in the box. And I know from watching a Jimmy Slash review from 4 years ago that his didn't come with one either. So unfortunately, if you're a lefty, I don't think you're going to be able to do that swap, but it is possible. And perhaps you could find somebody, maybe like Pop's Custom Clips out there on Etsy, make you a titanium clip that would fit lefty hands if that's what you're into. I may reach out to him and see if I can get a deep carry or slightly smoother clip made for this, because I think it would be worth it. And I think a gray titanium deep carry clip would go really well with the Damascus blade. Let's do some size comparisons. We'll do our standards, and then I want to show you how big this thing is. Here it is as a full size. Here it is wow. Here it is against the full size Griptilian. As you can see, the Nightforce is considerably larger than that, which means, of course, it's going to be way, way bigger than our small knife comparison tool, the ever functional Bug Out. So how big is it? Well, here it is against the Benchmade Calmigo, which is a big knife. Now the try that again. The Calmigo, let's line it up on that point, has just a little length on it in the handle and the blade, but not much. So if you've held a Calmigo, you'll know the Nightforce here is a big knife. What else can we compare it against that's handy? Oh, here it is against the Fox Knives Eastwood Tiger. These knives are very similar in size, although the Eastwood Tiger is considerably heavier, and we'll get to that in a minute. I know. I can hear some of you saying, laminate over G10, it looks cheesy, and you're not wrong. And in fact, there's a little bit of cheese to this knife entirely. I mean, it's called Nightforce, which is the most 80s heavy metal band, and I'm stealing that line from Jimmy Slash, I admit it, but I thought it was brilliant. It is a cheesy 80s heavy metal band name. We are Nightforce. But hey, it's a knife of its time. It manages to mix a super interesting blade with a great design and kind of a tactical feel to it. I love it. Right, so let's do the basic measurements, just because that's something we do here. Let's get that lined up. So you get a little over 3.5 inches of cutting on 3 3/4 of their, they call it NSF, I believe, Damascus. The grip area, and we're going to do it from just at the bottom of this swell right here. 1, 2, 3 3/4 to this edge, which is why it fits my hand absolutely perfectly. But if you have bigger hands, you could even come back a little bit. Overall, from end to end, you are looking at 9 inches, almost dead on. Oh, excuse me. Yep, 9 inches, almost dead on. This is a big, long knife, but it is very, very slender in the pocket. The closed profile on this thing is less than a 1/2 inch. It really is. Maybe that's a better place for you guys to see it. We'll line it up on the line there. Yep, less than a 1/2 inch. This is a very, very thin knife in the pocket. I really like it. Maybe you can tell I really like it. It is running on washers. Cold Steel doesn't really do bearings as far as I know, but it runs very smoothly. And a little bit of KPL or whatever your oil of choice is right there at the pivot, and it smooths up even more. This is a great knife. I really wish they'd bring this back. In fact, I wish they'd bring this back, make a budget version with straight G10 and their AUS 10A. I think that would be marvelous. I think people would really get behind that and dig it. It does carry pretty well in the pocket. Like I said, the pocket clip is pretty traditional Cold Steel. Do I have any factory Cold Steel? No, I don't. Okay. Yeah, I put a deep carry on my 8010, so that's not going to work. But anyway, you get about that much knife sticking out of the pocket, which is a fair amount of knife, but, you know, I mean, what, the closed length on this thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.25 inches. So you get about half an inch or a little more pot knife sticking out of the pocket, but on a 5.25 inch, it's not a big deal. This thing is fun. And again, this blade is just gorgeous. Clip point with a beautiful swedge. Great place for your thumb to land here. Great place for your thumb to land a little further up. You can put your finger forward if you're going to do draw cuts. Anyway, I really dig it. Let's see how much it weighs. I mentioned it is light for its size. Let's see what that works out to, shall we? There we go. Okay. 4.6 ounces for just shy of a 4-inch blade is not bad. And considering how long this thing is, 9 inches long, that's pretty good. So, yeah, I was, 4.5 ounces for a 9-inch knife. Come on, that is awesome. Now let's see how much of that lovely Damascus they give you. Let's go ahead and zero that out. Pinch right back here at the thickest point. 3.2 millimeters. Now that is not a super thick slice of steel, which is good because the actual bevel starts pretty low on the blade. It's got this lovely flat up here, but because it starts below 4 millimeters, it does come down to a really nice edge. And as you can see, it's got a fairly tall secondary bevel. I don't know what the sharpening angle is. When I hand this over to my buddy to put a better edge on it, or new edge at least, he'll think, God, that thing is sharp. I'll figure out what the actual bevel is. I do want to point out that there is no smile. It comes right back here to the plunge and stops perfectly. The fit and finish on this thing, well, I wish modern cold steels were made to the same exacting specs, because this thing is really well put together. It really is. So, that is my look at the Cold Steel Nightforce, an unfortunately discontinued knife in some really excellent Damascus with cool features and that amazing triad lock. I wish very much that they would bring this back in any form. Maybe bring it back in full carbon fiber in S35VN. I think that would be amazing too. But then, I've got a thing for big knives. Now, the other two knives that I'm reviewing this week are small knives, and I love them too. But my own individual taste, given my druthers, as it were, will always be to lean into larger knives, just because they're so much more comfortable for my hands. The Nightforce here manages to be as much of a cutter as the 8010. This is the original in hollow ground, so it cuts like crazy. It manages to have a very similar sort of tactical, if that's your thing, but let's call it aggressive styling as stuff like the Eastwood Tiger here and the full-size Contigo. But it manages to do it at a lot less weight and a really nice thin carry profile. This is a superb cold steel, and one I think not only deserves your attention, but should absolutely be brought back so that more people can experience it and enjoy it. And that's where we're going to leave this. There are some on eBay right now for right around the $200 mark. If you're interested in such a knife, don't be afraid to go seek one out. And you know what? In the end, that's really what I'm going to end this on. Don't be afraid to look for old stuff. At the rate people release knives now, knives that came out in 19 are considered just about classics, which is crazy because there are some phenomenal older knives, and this is only 5 or 6 years old. I mean, come on, 4 or 5 years old. But there are some phenomenal knives that were released, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 15 years ago that should not be forgotten and absolutely deserve your attention. I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at the Cold Steel Nightforce. I have absolutely enjoyed owning it. I'm going to continue enjoying that. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you next time. Take care, guys.